when we are going through our Etsy shops, there's kind of, I would say, 5 main places that I would be checking, I would be looking at first to make sure that our shop is kind of set up in the best way that it can be. If you are someone who is unable to kind of take an objective look at your shop, I would say to find a buddy and swap shops and kind of look at each other's shops so that you're not, because I know that when you're working on it all the time, it is a bit like, you know, you are having to take a bit more of an objective look, right? When you're looking at your shop, and this is something that if you're in the HBSA Facebook group is so good to have, because you can post your shop in there and get objective eyes in it, on it. You get me looking at it, you get the team having a look at it. So that is why the HBSA group is just so good, because at any time you can pretty much post your shop link and be like, can you guys check this, or can you check my pricing, or can you check this, and just let me know if it's making sense or not. So that's what I really love. We don't do that in the free group, in the big group, just purely because there's a lot of, they're not people who've been through the course that kind of know all the do's or don'ts. So yeah, it's kind of like, it's always good to have someone who's been through the course and kind of who's like almost trained to know, giving you advice rather than like the wider masses. So that's why we don't allow it in the free group. The first 5 places, the first place that I would look is overall branding. So when you're looking at your shop, and even if it's not your shop, if it's like your buddy's shop, you know, you've like buddied up and you're going to swap, look at your overall branding. Is it cohesive? This is one thing that I see a lot of, is that you'll have one type of branding with one like lot of colors for one shop, and then another like that shop's Facebook page or that shop's Instagram account will have completely different branding. Listen, you don't go on to like Apple and see like a different logo on their website than you do their Instagram page, right? It's all cohesive, and that's there for a reason. Your brand does a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to building that trust, when it comes to building that rapport with the people coming into view, right? So when they then go onto your social media, or maybe they get onto your email list, or wherever the touch point is, and then they're seeing that actually there's a different logo, there's different colors, it kind of has that thing in their head where they're like, oh, is this even the same place? Like, is this even like a thing? So it's really important for you guys to be able to make it cohesive at the very least. The other thing is as well, is it, does it make sense for the target market? Like, is it clear what it is that you sell? Does it make sense for the products that you sell? So like, let's say you do a lot of seascapes and you do like a lot of like work with water and the beach and all that kind of thing, and then your branding is like very gothic and very dark. It's not going to make sense, because the people that are viewing art or pieces like seascapes and ocean and all that kind of stuff, they aren't going to be attracted to like the darker gothic branding. But if you sell gothic jewelry, that's going to be a perfect match, right? There's a lot of psychological triggers when it comes to looking at branding. Obviously, there's the whole thing with, depending on what colors that you use, can kind of trigger certain emotions in different people. So there is that as well. So yeah, it is very much that thing where you've got to make sure that your branding is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. It's doing a lot of that kind of building that foundational trust that they can buy from you, and they know that you're the right choice. Branding is something that I think probably 90% of the people that I work with end up needing some work when it comes to their branding, just because it's not something that we are born knowing what to do. Like, you either have the creative kind of eye, or you don't, or you know what colors attract you the best, or you don't. It's kind of one of those things that you have to kind of learn. And the other thing is as well, is that don't always go for colors that you love, because like I said, colors mean a lot to people. You know, like they say that blue is like a serious, reassuring color, whereas yellow, like McDonald's yellow, is very playful, very happy, joyful, all that kind of thing. The next thing is your target market. this is another thing that really that you have to make sure is spot on. Now, I know I'm going to get questions that say, how do I know my target market is my target market? How do I know I found the right one? I have videos galore about this on my channel. The other thing is as well is that if you get the book is also a workbook hybrid. So you will be able to work through it, and there will be guidance and coaching questions and things in there. It goes a little bit more in depth than a video could. And if you really want, like, if you just want to get to the answer as fast as you can, then join us in the HBSA, because that's where we really go in depth. We have target market boot camps, like we really kind of get you to where you need to be with it. Not only that, but you also have the group to, like I said before, check in and kind of make sure that you're on the right lines. But when it comes to target market, you should be able to go into a shop and immediately know who it's for. You should be able to, it's a bit like walking into a store on the high street. You should be able to walk in to a shop and be like, okay, this is meant for a kind of person that likes this, this, and this. You should be able to walk in there, and if you are that target market, you're instantly attracted to it. For example, if you guys are in the UK, do you guys know of a store called Oliver Bonus? That's my target market store. Whenever I walk in there, I'm like, oh, I love it in here. It's all like bright and colorful and floral and like vintage style. It's really like boho-y. It's right up my street. And that is my like perfect target market store. I always end up walking out with stuff that I buy in there. That should be the same, even though it's online, that should be the same for your shop as well. Okay. So who is the shop for? Does it make sense? Is it too broad? Is your target market, are you trying to attract everybody? Like, let's say your products are for mums. Are you trying to attract like all of mum kind, or are you kind of doing it a little bit more of a service and kind of narrowing the scope a little tiny bit? Or is it too narrow? Have you gone too far the other way, where it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to do like mums who like this, who have kids of this particular age and this and this and this, right? But the book, again, is going to really, really help you with this, okay? And that's on Amazon. If you just type in how to be a handmade boss, like the title here is pretty big. You'll see it on there. So the third thing is products, okay? And again, this is where and we talk about this a lot in the book. I call it the tantalizing trifecta. It's basically a trio of things like the three legs of a stool, and that is your branding, your target market, and your products. They all should be working in tandem. Now, this doesn't matter if you have an Etsy shop, it doesn't matter if you have your own website, it doesn't matter where you sell. These trio of things should always be cohesive. Okay, so we've talked about your branding, we've talked about your target market, now we're talking about your products. Is there a wide enough selection for the whole scope, the whole bracket of your target market to buy, or are you just focusing in on one particular type of product at one price point? I've seen success with both, depending on what your reasoning is behind it, right? Does it work with the branding? Because again, what I do see quite a lot of is really colorful products with really muted branding. And sometimes you're kind of like, okay, if I'm attracting someone, so let's say someone doesn't see my products are bright, my products are colorful, they're for people like me who wear a lot of colors, right? And then you go onto their branding, which let's say are the only things that you see on Instagram, the only thing that you see on socials, you only see that muted branding. There's a disconnect going on here, because I personally wouldn't be attracted to like muted branding. It is very much like you've got to keep everything cohesive, not only brand wise, but you've also got to keep everything cohesive in regards to, if you're attracting that kind of person that's going to buy that kind of product, it's all got to be on the same level. You can't have one that's up here and one that's down there, right? So same with like branding versus price point, right? What I see a lot of is where people will have high-end products, but their branding doesn't look high end. And then again, you're attracting the wrong type of clients with your brand, but you're actually selling something that's attracting a different kind of person. So that's another thing that I see a lot of. where your branding, your target market are two different things. Then you've got your products floating around somewhere, hovering around these, if that makes sense. Fourth thing is pricing. Now, I would say 85% of people that I work with are undercharging. So the vast majority of you guys watching here now are undercharging severely for your products. Okay. Now, I don't want to hear, because I know I'm going to get it. I do not want to hear, oh, but there's like people who are selling it for £3 and I'm charging 5, or people are charging like 50 and I'm charging 20. They shouldn't even be in your competitor wheelhouse, because they are attracting a whole different target market to you. Let's say you make, I don't know, bridal like hair bands, and someone's charging like £12 and you're charging like £30 for like different designs, obviously because it's handmade. And you're like, oh, that's why I'm not making sales. The chances are that is not why you're not making sales. It's probably the other three things, the trio that we've just talked about, that's probably the main reason why. I've never gone into a shop and gone, oh, it's a pricing, like it's too expensive. Obviously you can not get orders from low pricing, because then there's a whole trust thing involved. But I've never gone into a shop and gone, the reason you're not getting orders is because your prices are too high. That's never been the case. So if any of you are watching right now and thinking, yeah, you know, like my prices are too high, people are charging X, Y, and Z, the chances are is that if there is a competitor of yours that's charging a lot less, they aren't really a competitor of yours, because they're doing a whole different thing. It's a bit like I don't know, like Bentley being like, oh yeah, but we charge like, I don't know, 130k for our cars, and yet Kia are out here charging like 14k. That means we have to lower our prices. No, like, yes, they're both cars, but they're both in like a complete different wheelhouse. They're both attracting completely different people, right? Again, is it high end or is it low cost? Is it formatted correctly? Are you using the .99, .95? Studies have shown, and I get people who like, I don't want to do that because of this and this. Literally, there's a bee that's just come in. Can you leave? Thank you. Literally, it is proven that prices that are .99 or .95 will have and probably will always convert better. So if it's like 19.95, our brains see that as £19 rather than 20. It's essentially 20, but our brains read it as less. Whereas if you charge like a whole pricing like £20, it's not going to have as higher of a conversion rate. Okay, so we talked about pricing. Categories is the last one. Categories is a huge thing, and it's the shop categories. Okay, so down the left hand side of your shop, you do have, you know, a place where you can sort your various listings. Okay, so let's say, for example, that you sell jewelry and you have gold jewelry, silver jewelry, rose gold jewelry, whatever. Are customers shopping according to the categories that you have sorted your shop as? Okay, are they actually shopping by the color of the jewelry? And this is a mistake that I made. I assumed people were looking for silver, gold, or rose gold, and they weren't. They were looking for a gifting occasion instead, because my shop is very much geared towards gifts, right? As most shops are. So that was one thing that I made the kind of fatal mistake on, was that my categories were wrong. Okay, are they keyworded well? Because you want to make sure that you're using the same words as people who are like actually searching for those things are. Do they fit in as well with occasions and uses and like reasons that people would be on your shop looking for stuff to buy? So guys, overall branding is the first one. Target market, products, pricing, and categories. These are the 5 things that should start you off looking at your shop and kind of doing a bit of an audit. It's a good place to just look at your shop and say, okay, you know, score it from 1 to 10. Does this work? Does that work? Does this work? I love like scoring things, because I feel as if like it really just highlight that thing of your work's never done and there's always some improvement that you can make. Do you ever edit people's shops? I don't edit shops, no, because I don't know if you guys know, but there's like a whole thing of IP addresses. So if you ever get anyone that says they can log into your shop, do not do it, because if they've logged into their Wi-Fi with a shop that's been closed down, that's got IP infringements or anything like that, then your shop could be at risk of association getting closed down as well. So if anyone ever says I can log into your shop and do it for you, outright refuse, because it is a bit of a danger zone. Is your planner good for vintage items and not makers? So basically, I would say that if you have a physical product, then it will work. It is kind of made more for like the handmade product type of things. But when someone asked that same question a couple of weeks back, I literally looked through the planner and there's not really a section that I would say would not be applicable for you guys. So yes. How many listings would you recommend having in your shop if you're in your second year of having an Etsy shop? So there is no magic number as to how many listings you should have. However, I would personally aim to have over 100 listings. That's not products, listings, because that's going to enable you to get found in lots of different searches, and if not 100, get as close to. There is no magic number at all, but you just want to, I'd say if I was pushed into a corner, I'd probably say between 50 and 100 is like the ideal number. I have a lot more than that because I'm in a saturated niche, which does make a difference. Stacey says, I find this really hard as I love bright, vibrant colors, but most of my clients love the neutral tones. It is that thing, Stacey, of you are creating a business for your target market, not for you. I'm exactly the same. I've recently rebranded my Etsy shop, and the colors that I chose aren't my favorite colors, but I know with extensive target market research, and I literally like went through the course myself. It was the funniest thing. I know that that's what they want. So I didn't make my branding for me. I made it for them. They're not my kind of colors. Like, you guys know what I like. I like bright, colorful things. I like big, colorful, shiny earrings, oranges, yellows, teal colors, pinks, yellows. Like, I wear it all, but you're not making your branding to attract people like you. You're making it to attract the people who are going to pay for your products, right? Vicky says, I currently wrap my chocolates in brown paper, but I'm working on a collab with some local artists to wrap my Xmas bars in their designs. Would that affect my branding? Really that would fall under the whole thing of the products. Like, are your products attracting the right people? Are they for the same people that your branding's bringing in? I would say that falls under a product thing rather than a branding thing, especially a collab, because their designs are attracting their target market in. You want some crossover in that, right? So what I would say is make sure that their designs attract the same kind of target market who are likely to buy the stuff that you have, right? There's no point in doing, and I spoke to someone actually recently who did a collab with someone who was completely wrong. It didn't cross over, and one ended up getting a lot more orders than the other, and it was just like a hot mess. But you've got to make sure that if you're going to collab with people, that they have the same target market as you have, not the same branding, but they have the same customer base that's going to order from you as well. If you duplicate a listing and list it in different categories, are you breaking up all the sales for that one item and not taking advantage of the snowball effect, or is it better to list it? It depends. See, there's a two-pronged approach to that. Number one is, I would personally, if it was me, I would duplicate the listing and use different keywords and then put it in a separate category. So let's say you have a heart locket necklace. You could duplicate that and put it in Mother's Day gifts, Valentine's Day gifts, Christmas gift, right? So that's how I would do it. You're not breaking up the different, you're not negating the snowball effect, because you're using different keywords to list the thing that you would have missed out on anyway if you hadn't duplicated it and started using different keywords, if that makes sense. So no, you wouldn't be negating the snowball effect. You'd actually, the way I would do it is duplicate the listings in order to get more people into that product, if that makes sense. So guys, for now, I will catch you in the next one. Bye everyone.